Good morning and welcome to Berry's Garden. I'm with Diane Williams, a Sangoma living in Spain, and Theresa Walstra, who is here to bring with her her collective of guides known to us as Cynthia. Ladies, welcome. What a beautiful morning it is. And I just did a little recap of what we looked at for June, and I was quite amazed at the blessings as well as the turbulence that came out. I mean, we spoke about discord, we spoke about widespread disruption. We've had the George Floyd incident that has rocked the world. We've had the Black Lives Matter. And I'm hoping that the ending we spoke might be the end of racism. I think we have a long way to go, but I think that it has certainly served to bring a lot of our implicit biases to the fore in the world. So let's see where we go to in July.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, Berry.
It's such a pleasure. Would you like to start with a prayer, please, Theresa?
Yes, let's do that. Great Spirit, we ask for your protection as we join with the world of spirit. We ask that you would help us to open our minds and our hearts and our lives to the information that comes through here, so that we can make the very best of the opportunities that present themselves to us in the month of July. And we ask that you will bless what we are doing here. Amen.
Amen. Amen. So thank you and welcome, Cynthia.
We greet you, Lady Berry and Lady Diane, and all who come to listen and to follow. We greet in love.
Thank you. Diane, would you like to bring us your first
I'd love to, because I got quite excited last night. I thought, wow. Well, I hadn't quite remembered everything that we pulled up for last month. I'm glad you gave us that feedback, Berry. But it's looking sort of much brighter. So the first card I pulled out of the 5 cards was the Ace of Wands. You see here. Now, the Ace of Wands is indicative of absolute bursts of raw energy with a new cycle of inspiration. A lot of people are going to feel a sense of restlessness, which they won't quite feel like they can pinpoint. But what this restlessness is actually doing is prompting them into new endeavors, to pursue things they've perhaps put off for a long time. Basically pushing them towards new horizons. It's a new cycle for inspiration and creativity, especially for writers, musicians, dancers, and anybody in general, but it's very much about creativity. Love the Ace of Wands. New beginnings. Aces are always about new beginnings. So anything you pick up on this card, Berry? You're so good at this.
Oh, thank you. I'm such a novice. But the Ace, I'm interested in the fact that the Ace of Wands is the first card, and last month, do you remember that the Ace of Cups was our first card? And
right.
To me, it's such a reassurance that literally we are held in the palm of the creator of all that is. And again, the idea of new beginnings, again, the return to our sacred practice, to our sacred connections with the earth, with all of life. And you're absolutely right. I felt like, oh, it's springtime when I saw the Ace of Wands, because that is that burst of new energy. But
absolutely.
But just that reminder of the sacred in all things. Cynthia, I'd love to hand that over to you.
Yes, well, we would say to you that certainly that card, and it indicates that the soil is ready for new growth. And you must remember that card, this reading, the information that comes through specifically for those who will follow this. It doesn't mean that all within the world will follow this process. It means that it is focused on those who are intended to hear this message, those who are ready. And certainly the soil is right now. All the circumstances that have taken place over the last few months have served as nutrients within the soil of fruition, which comes to those who are ready for it now. And so it is a beautiful new beginning. And as you have mentioned, Lady Berry, it is important to remember that one is in the hand of Great Spirit, creator of all, and that all is as it should be, always. Yes?
Beautiful.
Wow, that's what an amazing start. Thank you so much. Can't wait to see what happens next. Thank you so
Well,
much.
next we've got our Two of Swords. And in a way, the Two of Swords links in with the Ace of Wands from the point of frustration. So the frustration leads to restlessness. For many, you see, it's enough. I'm sick and tired of feeling this way. I'm sick and tired of putting up with your nonsense. I'm sick and tired of my addiction. It's enough. And once we get to that point of enoughness, so we're ready to take that next step and implement changes. Many people would have felt they were at a stalemate. That's very relevant, I should imagine, then to lockdown, being in a stalemate. But now's the time they're going to branch out. And if what wasn't working for them before is manifest new avenues for themselves. It also talks about quarrels between individuals, families, friends, lovers. They've sort of been discussed, but there's some resentment underlying those quarrels. So there's still some things that need to be resolved in order to let them go. So resentments must be let go of. So I would say we're at a turning point, a crossroads with this as well. Berry.
Wow. Truly no place to go other than to just take a stand. And it's interesting that she has the weapons in her hands, but I'm interested in that blindfold as well. And what is it that we're not seeing, you know, when we feel that we're in that place?
We would perhaps want to say that the blindfold in this case is very, very relevant, because it means trusting to intuition, trusting to the inner guidance. And as much as there has been frustration, now you will rely on the inner guidance, the intuition, the guidance from, let us call it spirit, to take you forward using the tools that you are ready to. Because if you look towards what the Lady Diane has said about that card, about the frustration has come because you have relied upon yourself. Now you are being encouraged to rely upon the guidance of a much higher force. And as much as you have pressed through these circumstances and said, well, I can make a difference, I will change, I will, now you need to say, we will, because intuitively you will work together with your guides. So it is in fact a confirmation of the first card, as much as it certainly interprets the frustration and the circumstances, certainly of family issues, which will come up with many who follow this. But it is certainly a time of intuitive guidance. Yes?
Beautiful.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for that. Diane, this is astounding.
And the next one is interesting because I feel it very much links in with our Two of Swords, the Two of Wands. So talking about associations, looking ahead, putting differences behind, but it's also relevant to new ideas loaded with potential. In many people's situations or cases, it would be with a partner or an associate. It's going to take a lot of willpower and dedication, though, to get going. So there's no get rich quick schemes here. It's probably the sweat, as in the Ace of Wands. You saw the little drops coming off the wand there. So it's a little bit of sweat and tears involved, but great creativity, great potential. But it's going to take significant dedication. Very.
Diane, you know, that man, he looks really successful and he's holding the world in his hands. And as humanity, I feel like that's what we are at the moment. We have so much potential, as you mentioned, but we hold the future of the world in our hands. And I am thinking that the choices and decisions that we make right now speak into what kind of a world we leave to our children going forward. And I'm looking at the green foliage around him. I'm looking at the mountains, the hills behind him. I'm looking at the rose in the foreground of the, like the little plaque of the rose, the water behind him. It speaks into nature and how we work with our world and our environment going forward. It's just a really, really important piece for me right now. And that's what I'm seeing reflected in this card. Cynthia.
Yes, a beautiful card, certainly a great deal of hard work. But remember, it is work that you must do together intuitively with your guides who wish to help you. There is a great deal of entrepreneurship predicted there. There is a great deal of change, growth from both personal and business level, but certainly from business level. And we would say that there is plans for travel there, making plans to change where you have been, making plans to extend. Is that your interpretation, Lady Diane?
Absolutely, as well. You know, it often depends on what it's combined with and what on the individual as well. But you can see by the globe that would make absolute sense. Yeah, yeah. And a lot of people will be thinking about geographical change and moves right now.
Yes, plans, hard work, putting in the effort to actually benefit and build on what you have learned over the last few months. Beautiful time. Remember, the soil is right now. You have learned what you needed to take it, move forward with it. Yes.
That was lovely, Barry and Cynthia.
Thank you, Diane. Gee whiz, what a beautiful card as well. I'm excited by this reading. And just to confirm, this reading is for the month of July, right?
July, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, we've just got 3 days left. And look what we've got now, our Page of Cups. It's a card of new feeling, new emotions. And what for me comes through very strongly, or it did on this particular occasion, was about learning to love ourselves, or learning to love ourselves again. Self-love. It can be the birth of a relationship, new relationships, happy relationships. Very much about new emotions, and this can come through friendships. Often this can relate to news of a child, a pregnancy, a child coming into the world, or the sort of recent birth of a child. It's very much about learning to love one another for what each one of you is. But I felt very strongly today about learning to love ourselves. Very.
For me, this card speaks into the imagination and our power to imagine what it is that we want to manifest and create. So I think about the power of the imagination, the power of play. You know, a wise man called Bernard de Koven wrote the line, "Play, when it becomes deep enough, can heal the world." And for me, this speaks into, again, reimagining the world in a different way, learning, taking with us the lessons that we've learned during the past few months of immense change and challenge for so many, but using that to reimagine and recreate and not forgetting the element of play and imagination and how powerful that can be to shift
Absolutely.
lift
Yeah.
everything.
Interesting, Barry, in some tarot schools of thought, the little fish is thought of as creating miracles. You know, the breaking of the fish, and that ties in exactly with what you said there. Yeah.
I didn't know that, Diane. That's so interesting. Thank you for sharing that. That's
so that, yes. See how good you are at this.
I think I'm following you. I have a good role model right here. Cynthia, would you like to give us some insight?
Well, we would say that is also a beautiful card because it does indeed speak to a different form of love. And it speaks to everyone perceiving love and loving relationships differently after what you have been through. Because we would remind you that emotion is your greatest learning point within your world. And there is not one single individual over the last 6 to 8 months in your world who has not experienced a great deal of what we want to call the shadow emotions, sadness, sense of sadness. But that has allowed you to make accessible to you the opposite. As it is said, the depth of your sadness is also the height of your joy. So you have gone through a great deal of shadow emotions, leaving the possibility for you to now experience the light emotions that is opposing to that. And that is beautiful because that is certainly allowing you to love more deeply at every level, family, friendships, and importantly, yourself. Because as you go forward in the month of July, you will be required to put in a great deal of hard work for yourself, your growth, and for whatever is your financial or business opportunity. But that means understanding yourself, being kind to yourself, and loving yourself. You must apply the learning of the sadness and distress that you have experienced, not only towards your relationship with others, but towards your relationship with self. Give birth now to the new love which you can feel because of what you have been through. Yes?
Beautiful, beautiful, Cynthia.
That's
Thank
really
you.
beautiful. Thank you so much.
There's such exciting cards today. And finally, our beautiful page of wands. He can be the messenger, often known as the bringer of good news in schools of tarot, where we're entering a phase of optimism with this messenger. We're encouraged to nurture our talent and go forward with a lot of confidence. If we're looking at a person with this character, we can often be looking at a good-looking individual, male or female, who will encourage us to bring out the confidence in ourselves. It's also about new opportunities in business, can relate to theatre. This individual can encourage you to change your dress code or have a makeover. He's also talking about tapping into undeveloped skills and potential with this page of wands. It's very fiery, it's very exciting, and it's basically about good news on different levels as well. Can also relate to news of children. Good news about a baby coming in. So if somebody was to ask me, how's it looking with my niece getting pregnant, for example, you get the good news card. It's well starred. It's looking good. So we should be moving into that phase of optimism. Sometimes this character can be a bit egotistical, but we just have to accept them for what they are because they do bring in some valuable lessons. He's gorgeous. What do you think, Berry?
I think that the energy is so unexpectedly optimistic and forward-looking. I think that we're all ready to get out of this phase and go forward into the future. He has turned, he's on his way, he's going into his future. But that wand, those wands, he's the page of wands. And I'm intrigued by the fact that in this reading, 3 of our 5 cards are wands.
Yeah.
For me is hugely optimistic, energized, enthusiasm for life, engaging with life, creative, and just really tapping into that energy of creativity. And the pages, as you say, are for me also always about new starts, new beginnings, and that message has come through so powerfully in this reading today. And he just brings all of that together, and he says, come, follow me, let's go, let's do this together. We can do this.
Would encourage you to be a mover and a shaker, basically, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. He's lovely. And the yellow, the brightness, the color of I think, hope in a way. The gold, the yellow, lovely.
And the red tights. Yes. Yeah, the red is about energy too.
That's
yes.
Right. Cynthia, what do you think?
Well, we would say to you that the card speaks of showcasing, all right? Showcasing, presenting. And it means that you are ready to step out and showcase yourself and your gifts to the world. And it also means that in some cases, someone else will come to help to showcase you to the world, to bring attention to you. If you don't bring it to yourself, others or another come to bring it to you. So it is a powerful time of interconnectedness from both personal and business points of view, giving you the opportunity to step into what is new and beautiful. Yes?
Perfect.
Stunning. Thank you.
Gorgeous.
So
that's a lovely combination.
It is one absolutely beautiful combination. Diane, I'm wondering if I could ask you to possibly hold them up and fan them in your hand as just sort of
absolutely. Let's see if I can get this. Does that work?
Yes.
Ace of Wands, 2 of Swords, 2 of Wands, our Page of Cups, and finally our Page of Wands.
Wow. What a beautiful, beautiful reading. Thank you so much. I'm left with a feeling of optimism, and I think that we can do this. And also reassurance that this time, that we emerge from this time. You know, I think there was a time when a lot of people thought, oh dear, this is the end of the world, because it's the end of the world as we've known it. But the reassurance of new life, new ideas, new creativity, new ways of doing things and engaging, but continuing, going forward, is what I'm left with. So, Diane, would you like to just give a quick wrap up, and then we'll ask Cynthia to give us a final word?
I would say overall, this is a general feeling I've had from about July going forward. When people have phoned up with, you know, doubts about the future, the doom and gloom feeling that they've had, and then they say, well, what do you think? What's your take? And I have felt there would be that turn from July, and I was so excited to see that combination last night, because it sort of, it fell in with what I picked up maybe a month or 2 ago with a view to the future, you know, going forward. So yeah, no, that made me well pleased.
Thank you, Diane. That's very encouraging. Cynthia, would you like to have a final word?
Yes, well, we would say to you, grasp the opportunities that you have become ready for. July becomes a wonderful field of opportunities for you. Simply walk forward in combination with your guides and those who come to help you, and you will succeed. Don't become caught up in the turmoil coming from others, and you will go forward with great strength. All right? Remember, you have great help from Spirit. You are not alone.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you, Cynthia. Blessings to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Diane, wonderful as always to spend time with you and to
Thanks for having me.
Your wisdom. And thank you. I guess we'll meet again in a month's time. And meanwhile, everybody, have a wonderful and optimistic July. And as Cynthia said, we are not alone. Blessings.
Thanks all.